because I was too lazy to make real slides. So instead, I thought we could have more of a Q&A session. And what I want to talk about is marketing, but specifically marketing your own products and your own side projects. So first of all, how many people here have something of their own that they'd like to sell one day and make money from? Okay, so quite a few people. So I don't know if it's your case, but for me, one problem that I always have is when I build something cool, I put it out there and there's no guarantee that people are actually going to come and check it out. And even if they do come, there's also no guarantee that they're going to actually buy it. So for me, that's the role that marketing plays. It's like, it's kind of increasing your odds of being successful with your product. Of course, it's never going to replace the actual product. Like, if you have something that sucks, it's no amount of marketing is going to help you sell it, unless you're a huge company with a big advertising budget. But assuming that you have a good project and a good product, there's a few techniques that you can reuse and a few common strategies that I want to discuss today. So, let me get this to work. Okay, so first of all, this is my own product. It's a book called Discover Meteor. And Meteor is a JavaScript framework, so it's a programming book. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but basically, Meteor is a JavaScript framework that helps you build real-time web apps. And this book teaches you how to use that framework from scratch. So you need to be familiar with JavaScript, but besides that, it really shows you all the basics and takes you through building an actual working web app. So I co-wrote this book with this guy right here, Tom Coleman. And he's unlike me, he's a really, really good developer, so he took care of the more hardcore technical aspects. And although I also helped write the book, I mainly focused on design and marketing. So, okay, let's start. Okay, marketing for hackers. It's a bit of a cliche title, but I did it this afternoon, so I couldn't think of a better title. Basically, I built something, and now how do I get people to come? So, I'm going to cover these 7 topics. So for each topic, I'm going to share the strategies that I used, and feel free to jump in at any point, either to ask questions or to let me know about the strategies that you've used, which I might be able to reuse on my own project. So, the first step, which, sometimes you skip that step, but if you are really serious about increasing your chances, you're going to want to make sure that there's a demand for your idea. So, for startups, like, they use the lean startup methodology, which is you do customer development and you build a minimum valuable product and lots of complicated buzzwords. But if you're just doing your own product, you actually can do this really simply. So what I did 2 things. First of all, I set up a sign-up form announcing the book on another site that I already had, which was the site for a Meteor app. So it was related, but I wanted to judge the demand without having to really build anything. So I did that, and I left that sign-up form. So basically, what just saying, if you would be interested in reading a book about, how we build this app, leave your email here. And I think we got maybe a couple hundred emails in maybe a month or something. But basically, we thought it was enough to start building something. So what we did is we built the landing page. And at that point, we didn't even have a title, so the landing page was simply themeteorbook.com. And again, we had an image of the book, although it didn't exist yet. And we had short text explaining what we wanted to do. And again, we asked people to leave their email. So asking people to leave their email, it's like useful for two reasons. First, because you're building your audience and your future user base, but also because it's like an action that you're asking people to undertake. And basically, it's very easy if you ask someone like, hey, would you like to read a book about topic X, Y, Z? They'll say, sure, that sounds interesting, but it's hard to really know if there's a demand unless you ask something from them, such as leaving their email or filling up, a survey or doing something that takes them, 10 seconds, but it's still a way to validate that demand. So that's how we validated our idea, and I think we collected maybe a couple hundreds, maybe 1,000 emails, and at that point we were pretty sure that we could work on the book, and there would be people to buy it once it was launched. So I don't know, have any of you guys set up a landing page like this or used that strategy? Or have you thought about doing it but not done it? Yeah.
If I have a question, I mean, you have this random website which has a random form asking for emails. How do you advertise that? How do you even get the first person to type in the right email?
Yeah, that's a good question. So,
how did you do it?
Yeah, the way we did it is we had a link from, so we had our open source Meteor app called Telescope that I've been working on for the past year, and we put the link on there. So we already had some inbound traffic from there. I think I posted something about it on my blog, maybe on Twitter. So it's not really about getting huge amounts of traffic, because at that point you're interested in judging demand. So if 100 people come to your site and 10 sign up, that's awesome. That's much better than having 10,000 come and 100 sign up, because that means the interest is much lower. So at first I wouldn't worry too much about traffic. More, even if there's only like 10 people who come there, do those 10 people want to sign up or are interested in that?
How did you find your partner?
Oh.
Because when you start, it's always a good idea to have some partner and do work together. Because by yourself is really hard work.
Yeah, that's true. So it was actually pretty lucky for me, because I was working for this open source Meteor app, and I had just begun to use Meteor, and I'm mainly a designer, so I've done development and stuff, but it was always kind of hacking stuff and not high level, high quality programming. So a lot of the time I hit many stumbling blocks with Meteor, and every time I would ask Tom, because he was hanging out in the Meteor IRC chat room, and he would always help me out. It was really nice, and little by little, it basically asked so much of him that I felt bad. And I thought it would be nice if there was also a way for him to recoup his time investment in my project. So this is how I got the idea for the book, and I approached him about it, and he was receptive to the idea, so that's how we met, basically. So, yeah, I think it's interesting, because I think if I had first the idea to write a book, and then I went looking for somebody, it would be much harder. This way it happened much more organically. We were working on something, with no financial result, just for the love of open source software. And then once we knew that we got along well, we started thinking about the book. So generally, it's been my experience that when you're looking for someone for a business venture, it's much harder to find someone good than when it happens like naturally for open source projects or hackathons or whatever.
How have you met him?
Yeah, I met him only once, actually.
Does he live in Japan?
No, he lives in Australia. And the first day I met him was for the launch of the book. Okay, so step 2, building an audience. So that's kind of what you were asking about. And for me, basically the only way I know is having a blog. I think that's really what works best. So for our book, we had a blog about Meteor. We posted some tutorials. We maybe some interviews. I don't remember exactly, but every time we had an article, we would post it to Hacker News. We would post it to the Meteor mailing list and wherever else we could. And this way, we accumulated little by little many email addresses. And that's the second point. So it's important to keep your email list warm. And what that means is, if you get 2,000 email addresses and then you don't email them at all for like 6 months, and then you're like, hey, our book is launched, go buy it. People are going to be like, hey, what the hell is that email? I don't even remember signing up for that. And your email is going to go straight to the trash. So keeping your email list warm means sending regular content, maybe every 2 weeks or every 10 days. You can send exclusive content. You can also just announce what you've been posting on the blog. You can also, one thing that works well is ask for feedback on your product. And I think that works because you're letting people participate in your own creative process. And the idea is, so not only are you growing your audience, but you're also increasing the engagement of your audience. So yeah, I mean, both are very important. It's better to have 100 people who are engaged with what you're doing than 1,000 who don't really care. So does anybody have a blog for their product? Maybe a game development blog?
I really should.
Yeah, actually, can I ask what kind of stuff you put on your blog? What do you write about?
Do we see it now?
Yeah.
Can we restart that?
Yeah, probably.
So blog is here. So the first article, we're highlighting how another company, Scouty, is using Meteor. And they, I mean, it doesn't really have anything to do with our book specifically, but it's still related with the topic, so we figure it will be interesting for people. Then an announcement about the meetup in Beijing, which I went to last week. A tutorial about running Meteor on a platform called Naturals.io, which is very, very cool. I should do a presentation about that next time. Then article, this is like a more general blog post. A showcase of a guy who built an issue tracker after reading our book. And he lives in Tokyo, by the way. And if we go back to the beginning, so this was our first post, getting started with Meteor. This one, useful Meteor resources, you can basically apply that to any topic. Useful resources to do X, to build games, to learn Japanese, whatever. More tutorials. This one I tried to do something a bit more controversial, like telling people they're wrong. Yeah, I mean, the only problem is like some of these things were kind of stretching the point a little bit, so it wasn't a big hit, but we tried. And yeah, it's a mix of technical and less technical content, like an interview with one of the Meteor core team members. So there's actually a few like standard topics or strategies that you can use and that work pretty much whatever your topic is. So interviewing somebody famous in your domain is pretty much always interesting.
Are you using Meteor for this website?
No, I'm using a middleman.
Okay.
Talking about it earlier.
Are you selling the hard copy or ebook?
Just ebook.
Just ebook.
Yeah.
Because the Meteor is always changing, new versions coming and coming.
Yes,
So always
exactly.
you have to write new things. And how does it work? Like when you buy the book, can you get all the updated version?
Yeah, you will get all the upgrades for free, at least until Meteor hits 1.0. So right now it's at 0.6. So, but I will talk about this a bit later. next step, actually building the product. So I would recommend using flexible tools. What I mean by that is that for to write our book, we used Markdown and Git to collaborate. And especially for books, there's lots of apps like iBooks, Author, there's lots of, or InDesign. But we thought it was better to keep our content in the most flexible format possible. And I think it's a good principle to have, because when you're building a product like this, you can't always anticipate how it's going to evolve. So it doesn't apply to every single product, but if you can build something that's flexible and can adapt to the situation, I think it's better. Second point, get beta users or reviewers. I think most people already do this, but it's also important. So we had maybe 20 beta readers, and they helped us a lot. Like they found a lot of mistakes, they suggested a lot of improvements, and we gave them the book away for free. And finally, even if it's just a book or just a game or whatever, I think it's interesting to think of it as a bigger product. So what can you add to make an even better experience, like interviews, screencasts, case studies. And doing all this also lets you do product segmentation, which I will talk about later. So this section is a bit more specific to what you're building, but I think there's still like general principles that can apply. So any questions about this? Like, if you're building a product, have you tried or have you thought about adding more content or more? If you're building a video game, it can be like a level editor or the soundtrack. There's all kinds of things you can do.
Other things to go along with.
Yeah. Okay, press. So this is a topic that, it's interesting, but at the same time, it's very frustrating, because usually, at least my experience with getting press is you send an email to a blog and they ignore you. You send an email to another blog, they ignore you again, and then you get frustrated and you drop the whole thing. So I stopped doing that pretty much completely, and instead I do these things. So first, I write guest posts. So for the book, I think I wrote 5 or 6 guest posts. I got one on Smashing Magazine, which is like a design blog. Another one on NetTuts, which is a tutorial blog, etc. And first of all, sometimes you can get paid for your guest posts. Like Smashing Magazine, they usually pay like $200 or events. So that's pretty good. And also, people are usually much more receptive if you send them a post already written and formatted, and they can just add it to their site, compared to if you ask them to talk about your product and do all the work themselves. You can also get your product reviewed. That's really good for both for SEO and also just to get the word out about your product. What we've done is send the book for free to anybody who's willing to review it. So I think we had maybe 5 or 6 reviews. They're pretty positive. One thing that people are saying in some reviews is the book is too expensive, but at the same time they got it for free, so you can't really complain. And finally, another thing that helps is to find the people who are already writing about your topic. And I think it doesn't really matter whether they're famous or whether they have a big audience or not. So what I did is simply search for bloggers, using Google Blog Search or whatever. I searched for bloggers who were already interested in Meteor, and I contacted them. And I figure even if it's a guy who just has 10 readers, if someone Googles our book's name, maybe they'll land on this, and maybe they'll feel like our book is more important because they saw it mentioned in many places. So but I'm curious to know, has anybody succeeded in getting their product mentioned in blogs or press or?
Question one. when you want to write guest posts, how do you establish yourself credibility first?
You don't really need to establish credibility, I think, because, I mean, people don't really notice who's writing the post. If you're reading TechCrunch or Smashing Magazine or anything, most people rarely, I mean, I know I never stop to look, oh, who wrote this? You know, it's pretty rare. So I don't think you need to be famous or credible or established in the industry. You just need to write something that, good content, you know, something that makes sense and that's factually correct. So I don't think that's a big problem at all. Yeah, next one. Okay, next one is the landing page. So I think this is pretty important. At least as a designer myself, that's the part that I enjoy doing the most. So tweaking the landing page to try and get it to convert more and to be more effective. So give away stuff. I think that's always good. So we give away a chapter of our book. People can download the sample. We give away a second chapter if people sign up for our mailing list. And yeah, I mean, this goes back to my previous point about, you know, making more stuff around your product. The more stuff you make, the more stuff you have that you can give away. So for a video game, it could be a demo. For you know, there's always something you can find. Answer people's questions. So I don't mean answering people's actual questions, like when they contact you, but I mean the page itself should answer questions. And that's something I see a lot. It applies for, you know, products or even any type of landing page. Usually people will come to your site with a set of very specific questions, like what is it, how much does it cost, you know, what format does it come in, and so on. And for me, my priority is always answering those questions first before I try to be flashy or you know, impress people with my CSS skills or whatever. And I think that's a mistake a lot of landing pages make, is they make a very strong impression, so you're like, wow, that's so cool, but they don't answer all the questions that you have after seeing that page. And finally, using social proof. So that's basically featuring reviews, tweets, yeah, anything you can get your hands on, like people talking about your product, endorsing it. That's very important because, like, first of all, psychologically, people are always attracted to faces. So if you can put the faces of, you know, it doesn't need to be someone famous, but just having that face, that avatar on your site is a good signal. And also, I mean, we always want to know what other people think of something before buying it, so it works on that level too. So yeah, I mean, what about your own landing pages? Any questions about that or feedback?
Are people kind of reluctant to having their picture or, like, you know, their review on a social, I mean, on your landing page?
Not at all. I think actually people enjoy it because, you know, if I put your review on my site, it means that you're someone that can be trusted and you're an expert on that topic. So yeah, usually people are very happy to have you put their picture and their review on your site. And what's the next one? Okay. Pricing. So this is a topic that I find very interesting. I think it's interesting mostly on a psychological level and also on an economical level, but you know, people respond very differently to different types of pricing and different pricing level. So I've tried to price high and to price low, and it's pretty clear that the higher you price, you know, within reason, the more money you make. So basically, you will sell less of your product, but the increased price will make up for the loss of sales. And yeah, I mean, some people sell their ebook packages for $200, or even you can sell workshops or stuff like this for $1,000, and usually it's worth it because yeah, it's not, you will never make as much selling a $1 app as somebody else selling a $1,000 workshop. unless you're Angry Birds or something. On the other hand, if you price low, you'll probably earn less, but you'll reach more people. So that can also be a valid strategy. For example, if it's your first product and you're still looking to establish yourself and grow your audience, it's very smart to reach as many people as you can, even at the cost of making less money. But you actually don't really need to choose because you can segment your product. What I mean by that is basically have 3 packages, or 4 or whatever, and have a package for each price point. One that's accessible, one middle ground, and one that's much too expensive, but there will still be people who buy it. So that works because it gives everybody a price that they feel comfortable with. Some people, it's a reality that some people have money and they don't mind giving you their money because they feel you've done a good job, they want access to the extra content, or they have too much money, I don't know. But it really works. So for our book, we had 3 price points. We had $39, $79, and $159. And the top plan is the one that made us most revenue. Of course, we sold a lot less of it, but it still made us more money.
What was the difference between the 3 plans?
So I'll show you. So basically, the first plan, the cheapest plan. Oh, that's another tip. On the page, we actually start with the most expensive one. So the most expensive one has the book, plus extra chapters, screencasts, case studies, interviews. So altogether, there's like, I don't know how many, like 16 different pieces of content in addition to the book. And the middle one has 8 pieces of content, and the cheapest one only has the book itself. So the idea behind putting the most expensive first is that as you scroll down, you see all the things that you're losing by not buying the most expensive one. And if you want to get psychological, there's a thing called loss aversion, which means that we hate losing more than we like winning. So taking things away from people is a strong trigger, emotional trigger. So I don't know if it really works, but the other aspect is that if you start low and finish high, by the time people get to the high price, they're going to be like, wow, that's too expensive. They're going to have a sticker shock. So by starting high, you can mitigate that a little bit. Anyway.
I like your code names.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time studying astrology to come up with those code names. And the final point is give discounts if you can. So, we have a standard 20 discount that you can get pretty much just by asking for it. We had
Should we cut that part?
Well, no, because it's pretty easy to get. You can just Google any review for a book, and we usually include a discount code for that particular review. It's also the discount that we give to students. Basically, everybody has the same discount. And I think people like having a discount. People like getting stuff cheaper. That's why we always go buy stuff in the evening at the supermarket to get waribiki. And another good tip about that is for the implementation. There has been lots of studies that say that when you have a field for the discount code in your shopping cart or at checkout, people will tend to leave the cart at that point to go search for a coupon. So instead, what we did is we used special URLs. So if you go to discovermeteor.com/ for example, Perseus, which is the name of a meteor shower, you will get 20% off without having to actually input that code anywhere. So that works better, and this way you don't get shopping cart abandonment. Yeah, any questions about pricing?
Do you do some kind of like regular discount which go beyond the 20%, like anniversary discounts kind of things?
We did a 3 months discount, 3 months anniversary discount, but I don't remember if it was more than 20%. To be honest, every time we do a different discount level, we have to set up a new discount code. And it takes a lot of time, so that's why we always just give up 20%.
What do you use for payment?
We use Gumroad. So Gumroad is a third-party service that takes care of all these payments, discounts, codes, inventory, if you have any. It's pretty convenient. And they also have an API, which means that we can automatically authenticate people who bought the book into our private members area. Pretty convenient.
What's the name once again?
Gumroad. Gumroad.com.
Question.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the price? Or it could be like 10, 8, and $2, but you put the different number. Like, well, how?
So
Black Earth.
So first of all, we spent about 6 months of work on the book, and there's 2 of us, and we're both software engineer and a designer, so we should earn a lot of money if we weren't spending our time writing a book. So we knew that we wanted the book to be profitable for us. So I think if we had sold the book for $2, especially given the size of the market, so Meteor is a pretty small technology, at least for now. So we knew that given that size, we wouldn't make enough money unless we priced it a bit higher. So this set the bar, from the start we knew it would be more than, say $20. Probably more than 30, and then we looked at other books, and it seemed like $40 was kind of the high bar. We thought that over 40 would be a bit much for an ebook, and it just kind of felt natural. We also thought about the discounts, so $40 discounted, 20% is 30. So this way the launch price for most people would be actually be 30 and not 40. So we figured, it's a good middle ground. And for the other packages, so 79 we doubled the price, and then we doubled again. There is no science, but it's kind of more of a gut feeling, when it's right.
One question that's not related to pricing, but how do you keep the interest in your book after the launch period?
So this...
Oh.
Wait, to my next slide.
I didn't know it.
I didn't have that. Maybe it's my one. Anyway. So you have to keep marketing to your audience. So when I talk about your audience, it can mean both the people already on your email list and who already know about the product, and the people who haven't discovered it yet. So blogging, you have to keep on blogging, I think. You can organize events. So I co-organized the meetup in Beijing. You can post, be active in the community. Keep writing to your email list. For example, I wrote the list asking what topics they would like us to cover in the future. Another thing about post-launch marketing is segmenting your list. So I think it's important to not send the exact same content to everybody, because if you do that, you might end up sending a discount code to somebody who just bought the book, and then they'll be pretty angry. So for that reason, we know who bought the book and who didn't. We track all of that, and we target our emails accordingly. We were talking about the updates earlier, so I think that fits in keep over delivering. So even after people have bought the book, we want them to still get surprises, like they'll get updates for free. So that's something we promised from the start. So it's still pretty cool. They also get extra chapters for free, extra content. And the idea is, you can try to convince new people to buy the book, and you can try to get more traffic and do all that, or you can take the people who already bought the book and make them like it even more, so that they recommend it to their friends and to their parents and children. So that's what we're trying to do also. Another cool thing we're doing is showcasing success stories. So actually, I got the idea from another guy called Nathan Barry. He released a book about marketing, and what he did that was really smart is he had a blog post like my readers have earned $50,000, and basically he talked about 4 or 5 projects launched by people who have read his book, and for each project he had a revenue breakdown, and the total amounted to a pretty good number. So that's a good way to show directly how people who bought your product are benefiting from it, and in this case using it to make money. So that's what we're trying to do as well by showcasing people who have built cool apps after reading our book. And so far we have like 2 or 3, I think, but we want to keep doing that. So there's a designer, a pretty famous designer speaker called Kathy Sierra, and one of her main points, I'm almost done. One of her main points is that you should give your users superpowers. So basically Photoshop, the reason why people like Photoshop is it gives them the superpower to remove their mother-in-law from photographs or something. So if your product is giving users superpowers, like enabling them to build apps, or I don't know what superpower video game, or enabling them to win the World Angry Birds tournament, you want to showcase that and you want to let the world know. So I think that's the last one. And so this is the result for our book. So you can see the sales figure here, and this is for 1 month. The book has been doing pretty good. I think time's up. So
Thank you, Sacha.